The woods can be a dangerous place, but sometimes it's not just the usual predators you have to worry about. From a deer that didn't behave like a deer, to a towering beast watching hunters from the shadows, and a swamp-dwelling monster with webbed feet, these are times hunters found something that shouldn't be alive. Reddit user equivalent=8027 shared an eerie story about an encounter they had while hunting in Comfort, Texas, alone for the first time. After shooting a large buck, he'd climbed down from his stand to wait by the deer for pickup. As the sun set, he heard rustling from the nearby woods, and this massive buck emerged, but he'd soon find something about it was off. Excited, he took a shot at close range. Nothing. The creature didn't even flinch. Confused, he reloaded and fired again. Still, no reaction. As he aimed once more, the buck slowly stepped forward, its lifeless eyes locked onto him. It tilted its head as if taunting him, and that's when panic set in, and he fired another round. Then a final desperate shot, and this time the creature flinched but didn't run. It simply backed into the trees, never breaking eye contact. Just before disappearing, he swore and smirked at him. Moments later, his father arrived, and they loaded the normal buck into the truck. When he asked about the excessive gunfire, he nervously brushed it off, saying it was just bad aim. But years later, after hearing about the not deer phenomenon, legendary creatures that look like deer but aren't, he began to wonder if he'd encountered something unnatural. Deep in the woods of Mississippi, there's a legend that refuses to die, the Chatawa Monster. If you ask the locals, they'll tell you about a creature that's been lurking near the town of Chatawa for years. Hunters have reported spotting this hulking ape-like figure moving through the trees, always just out of reach. Some describe it as covered in thick black fur, standing around 7 feet tall and with glowing red eyes that pierce through the darkness. One of the most famous sightings happened when a group of hunters came across these massive footprints leading into the swamp. They followed the trail, rifles at the ready, only to be met with an ear-piercing screech that sent them running. Some claim they've seen it watching them from a distance, never attacking, just observing. Skeptics say it's just a bear or a misidentified animal, but the hunters who have come face to face with the Chatawa Monster, well, they swear it's something else entirely. Down in the murky, gator-infested waters of Louisiana's Honey Island Swamp, there's said to be a creature called the Honey Island Swamp Monster. And if you ask the people who live near the swamp, at least some of them will tell you that it's real. Described as a 7-foot-tall beast covered in grayish hair with glowing yellow eyes and webbed feet, this thing has been seen by dozens of hunters over the years. The legend goes all the way back to the early 60s, when a retired air traffic controller turned wildlife photographer named Harlan Ford claimed that he'd spotted the creature lurking near the camp. At first, he thought it was a bear, but then it stood up on its 2 legs and walked. That was enough for him to get the hell out of there. Years later, though, when Ford was exploring the swamp, he supposedly found massive footprints in the mud, footprints that didn't match any known animal. Modern hunters have had run-ins with the beast as well. Some say they heard its deep guttural growls in the middle of the night. Others claim they've seen something huge moving through the trees just beyond the reach of their flashlights. Could it be some undiscovered species of ape? Or is there another possibility? One story goes that in the early 20th century, there was a circus traveling by train to their next town. The train crashed, and from it came a bunch of chimpanzees who ran off into the swamp. Some say the chimps adapted to their new environment and could have formed into the creature people see today. Whatever the case though, something has people too scared to go too deep into the bayou alone. If you've ever seen the legend of Boggy Creek, you already know about this next one. The Fouke Monster is basically Arkansas's answer to Bigfoot, and it's been creeping out hunters and campers for decades. This beast was first widely reported in the early 70s when a family claimed it attacked their home just outside of Fouke. They had a full-on shootout with the beast, but couldn't take it down. All that was left were footprints leading back into the forest. According to eyewitnesses, the creature is massive, over 7 feet tall, covered in thick reddish-brown hair, and reeking something awful. walks on two legs but moves unnaturally fast, almost like it's gliding more than running. Over the years, multiple hunters have reported seeing it lurking near Boggy Creek, sometimes watching them from the trees, other times making strange guttural growls that don't match any known animal. One of the most famous encounters involves a group of deer hunters who claim they spotted the creature watching them from a ridge. When they raised their rifles, it let out a deafening scream and bolted into the woods at an impossible speed. They tried to track its footprints, but the trail just stopped. There were no signs of where it went, no broken branches, nothing. People in Fouke still talk about the monster to this day. Some think it's a surviving relic of a prehistoric species, others aren't so convinced, but you may want to be careful if you ever decide to go hunting in Boggy Creek. You may just be the one being watched. Deep in the wilds of Montana and Idaho, there is an old legend about a strange wolf-like beast known as the Shunka Warakin. It's said to be this larger than normal wolf, with a hunched back, dark, almost hyena-like fur, and a terrifyingly strong bite. The name comes from Native American legends, and for centuries settlers have reported their livestock being slaughtered by something that didn't match any known predator. The first major recorded encounter happened in 1886, when a rancher named Israel Ammon Hutchins shot and killed an unidentified animal in Madison Valley, Montana. The creature didn't match any known species. It was longer than a wolf, had a strange sloping back, and dark, nearly black fur. Hutchins had it stuffed, and for years it was displayed at a local museum before disappearing. Then in 2006, a strange dark-furred wolf was killed in Macomb County, Montana, after preying on local livestock. Biologists examined the carcass and couldn't positively identify it. Some experts think the creature could be this hybrid of a wolf or an unusually large, ancient-looking specimen. Others believe it could be a surviving member of an extinct species, maybe a distant relative of the prehistoric Borophagus, a hyena-like predator that once roamed North America. Florida has plenty of weird stuff going on. There's alligators in swimming pools, giant pythons in the Everglades, and of course, the skunk ape. This swamp-dwelling creature is basically the Sunshine State's version of Bigfoot, but with one major difference: the smell. That, and it kinda looks more like an orangutan. Hunters who claim to have seen the skunk ape describe this tall, hairy humanoid covered in dark, matted fur, but before they even see it, they smell it. People say the creature reeks of rotting meat, wet dog, and sulfur all mixed together. One of the most famous encounters happened in 2000 when a man named Dave Shealy swore that he saw the creature walking through a clearing. He managed to capture the thing on what has now become a rather famous video. Over the years, hunters and campers in the Everglades have reported hearing guttural howls in the dead of night, and some claim to have seen glowing eyes staring at them from the treetops. Skeptics say it's just a bear or a hoax, but there are a lot of folks who insist that the skunk ape is real. And considering how much weird stuff goes on down in Florida, would it really be the craziest thing to exist? Imagine hunting in the backwoods of South Carolina, and instead of a deer, you come face to face with a 7-foot-tall lizard man. Well, that's exactly what happened to one unlucky hunter near Scape or Swamp. The lizard man legend started in the late 80s, when a teenage boy claimed his car was attacked by this massive reptilian creature. Since then, multiple hunters have reported seeing a scaly green humanoid moving through the trees. Some say it has glowing red eyes, razor-sharp claws, and can move faster than any human should be able to. One hunter swore that he saw the lizard man drinking from a creek before it turned and ran on two legs. Another claimed it let out a screech that sounded like a mix between a gator and a banshee before disappearing into the swamp. Bigfoot isn't just an American thing. In the dense, misty mountains of China, there's something just as terrifying: the Yeren. This massive ape-like creature has been reported for hundreds, if not thousands of years. Described as a towering, red-haired, ape-like creature, the Yeren is said to be anywhere from 6 to 8 feet tall, walking upright. Unlike the aggressive Yowie or territorial Sasquatch, the Yeren is often depicted as more shy, avoiding human contact whenever possible. Interest in this creature really exploded in the 70s when historian Li Jian collected testimonies from locals who had seen the creature as far back as the 40s. Dubbed the Minister of Yeren, Li's work caught the attention expansion of scientists who helped spark what became known as Yeren fever. With the end of Mao's Cultural Revolution, China's scientific community became more open to the idea of investigating these cryptid stories and started launching full-scale expeditions into the remote forests of Hubei province. One of the most famous expeditions happened in 1977 when a team of military personnel, zoologists, biologists, and photographers scoured the forests in search of evidence. They didn't find the creature itself, but they did collect massive footprints and strands of hair which some scientists believe could belong to an unknown primate species. By 1981, China had even placed a bounty on the creature. So is the Yeren a long-lost descendant of Gigantopithecus, an undiscovered ape, or something a lot more mundane? Well, no one knows for sure, but even today, Yeren sightings continue and hunters are still out there looking. Australia has its fair share of terrifying creatures, giant spiders, venomous snakes, and of course the Yowie. If you're not familiar, the Yowie is basically Australia's version of Bigfoot yet again, but except some claim it's even more aggressive. Hunters, hikers, and farmers have reported coming face to face with this towering hairy creature deep in the outback, and let's just say most of them don't stick around to get a better look. Described as anywhere from 6 to 12 feet tall, covered in dark shaggy fur, and with a face that's somewhere between a gorilla and a caveman, the Yowie has been part of Aboriginal folklore for centuries. The indigenous people warn that these creatures are not to be messed with, claiming they can be incredibly territorial and even violent when provoked. Maybe this next Redditor had an encounter with the Yowie as well. Australian Reddit user Hollerer had this to say: "Pig hunting in the bush in Gentleland, New South Wales, Australia. Me and my mate were stalking 2 pigs merrily degrading a riverbank. We were downwind and totally still about 30 meters away in the bush, about to take our shots, and the 2 pigs absolutely piss-bolt away." That doesn't sound right in my accent. When the 2 pigs absolutely piss-bolt away, we literally just stand up and shake our heads. No clue what scared them away. I've never seen a pig go from 0 to full flight without a gunshot first. Anyway, we're pretty buggered and decide to pack it in. Just as we're walking back through some pretty thick pine forest, maybe 100 meters away from the hide, we lost the pigs. We both hear a growl, and I swear to God it sounded like a lion from an African movie. There is nothing in the Australian bush that makes that sound. I've never felt fear like that in my whole life. Then I realized no birdsong nearby, and we're pretty damn close to the evening chorus time, so we're standing for 5 minutes, rifles out in the falling light, no birds, before we decide to head back to the fire trail I parked my ute at. 30 minutes walk in the dusk, rifles out, jumping every time a cocky shrieks. Till this day, I still don't know what that sound was. Never heard anything like it since. Well, with all that said, I've been your host James, and I'll catch you, yes you specifically, in the next video.